thank you guys for being here. Echoing Brian's comments on the people that made it happen, TMI, Coach Monty. I just wanted to welcome everybody and speak a few words, and then we'll get going into the fun stuff. But for me, there's a lot of firsts, obviously, that we are going through right now, and this is one of them. And this is something that we hope to continue to grow and execute every year. So thank you for being a part of the first one. And this is a vision and an idea that hopefully helps our community, it helps our connection, it helps our basketball community specifically, and then it's just a big thank you from us. I was in Austin for 3 years. I joined the Spurs 10 years ago. And I have been in San Antonio now for 7 years. And I have a family here. I had a baby here. And so for me, the community part, the connection part is a real thing. It's something that I've lived. It's something that I've gone through. My oldest daughter just graduated high school. And so when you talk about giving back, connecting community, I felt it in a big way from the city of San Antonio. And so I thank you for that. I thank you for making San Antonio home for me and my family. I think we all can say when you join the Spurs, you feel the community. There's not a lot of pro franchises that have the type of relationship with their community that we have. There's not a lot of pro franchises that probably operate a little bit more like a college in terms of their alumni, where it's normal to see a legend like George Gervin or David Robinson or Coach Monty Williams or Tim Duncan or Mono and so on and so forth. And that's the environment that RC and Pop and the whole family have set up many years ago, and that's the environment that this city has obviously embraced and set a tone for, and I'm honored to be a part of it. And it's something that I value highly, and I think it's a big part of why we are who we are and how we operate. In terms of the basketball part, I'm sure there's some parents out here, maybe there's some youth coaches, maybe there's some girls coaches, college coaches, G League coaches. I've been or wore that hat at some point in my life. I coached 9 years old up to high school, boys and girls. I have a 7-year-old son who doesn't think I know anything about basketball. I coached college, I coached G League. I've coached at every level except overseas. And I can tell you, if you haven't coached in many different levels, it really comes down to the same thing. We're trying to get a group of men or a group of women to come together and execute as a team, to put the team goal in front of their individuals. So when you call the timeout and there's a minute left and you gotta talk to Victor Wembanyama and Deb Vassell, or you gotta talk to the 9-year-olds Bobby and Billy, it really comes down to the same thing. When they leave that huddle and they go out and they try to execute, you hope they're together, you hope they try to put the team before themselves. And so, no matter how macro or micro you may hear things today, I do feel like it's applicable one way or another. You may have to change the perspective, you may have to, decipher between calculus and common algebra at times, depending on what level and who you're talking to, but this stuff translates. So I'm very excited for today. One thing I do want to acknowledge, our coach, Jimmy Barron, assistant coach in development, won't be here today. He's under the weather. He was really disappointed, but just at the time we are in our season, we just finished our first week of camp, and he's under the weather, so he won't be able to be here. Every one of you we have in our database. If for some reason you don't, we'll make sure we'll get it at the end, and we'll be sending you a video and some information from Jimmy. And so just on his behalf, I'm sorry that he can't be here, but we'll make sure to leave you guys with some stuff with a shooting emphasis from him. With the two speakers we have today, I'm very excited. They were intentionally chosen for very specific reasons. First, I'll be brief, but I'd like to introduce and bring on Sean Sweeney. Sean is from Minnesota. He's been coaching in the NBA for almost 20 years, which I still don't understand by his age. I don't know if they double his years of experience, but it seems like he's been coaching in the NBA since he was about 17. He's been with Brooklyn, he's been with Milwaukee, he's been with Detroit. and most recently he was in Dallas. And he has been the lead on offense, he's been the lead on defense, he's been at the forefront for a long time. He's our associate head coach. I have tapped him to lead our defense this year. He most recently was in Dallas leading their defense when they were in the NBA Finals. And Sean has a wealth of experience, and he is a modern and creative mind that is staying ahead of the game, but also staying true and very built on his fundamentals in the details. And so I think he's been a big addition for our group, and we've already felt it this first week of camp. And with no further ado, I'd like to introduce our associate head coach, Sean Sweeney.
And that applies to all of us, especially him as a head coach. Two things that come to mind, two books that come to mind when you're thinking about getting your team to execute. Number one, there's a book called Finding Polaris, written by Bob Levant, and it deals with the mental performance aspects, not just in basketball, but in life. And it's an excellent book for that. Another one is a book called Mastery Teaching by a woman named Madeline Hunter. And one of the things that she talks in that book about is learning behavior plus learning content dictates teaching behavior. So we as coaches who are teachers must make sure that we do a good job of understanding who our students are as learners, what it is that we are trying to get them to learn, and that's going to dictate how we teach as coaches. So there's a couple things to me that come to mind just based off of what Coach had said there. Talk today about defense, and I'm going to start with transition defense. And whatever your rules are as a defense, first thing you have to do is make sure that you keep the offense from getting out and getting ahead of you. They have to play against our set defense. It's a lot harder for them to score. You think about when you play a zone, when you're on offense, what's the best zone offense? Beat it down the floor and score before they're set. Okay, and for us, whatever level we're at, we want our zone to be like our man and our man to be like our zone. We want to play 5 against the basketball defensively, and the only way we can do that is to set our defense. So regardless of what we do on the offensive boards, we must get back. So our first principle defensively when we get back in transition is we want to sprint back. We always want to sprint ahead of the basketball. In the NBA, we like to go with 21 seconds on the shot clock, get that ball over half court on offense. So defensively, we want to be set in that first 2 to 3 seconds. The second thing we must do after we get back is we take care of the basketball. Okay, why do we want to do that first? Because the ball scores. There's certain situations where you may be 1-on-2 or 2-on-3 and have to be in a tandem or in a triangle or whatever it may be. We've got to take care of that basketball. The other thing that it does if we declare the basketball first is it helps us set our defense and get organized. So if we take care of the ball, then we must protect the basket. And in general, defensively, we want to start from the inside out. We start in and react out. So if we take care of the ball and we protect the rim, now we can work our way out to the three-point line. So ball, rim, three-point line, and then the last thing that we want to emphasize in the transition defensively is we want to make sure if we're behind the basketball, we don't watch what's going on, we're not spectators, we find somewhere to go. And so typically that would be going opposite of where the basketball is. Okay, so one of the things that we want to emphasize at the start of the possession is how we get back, as we talked about. Another important thing is identifying how we crash. So here's a base drill that you guys can use. It's called sandwich rebounding. We have 2 players on offense on the blocks, 2 players on defense guarding there, and then 2 players on offense on the wings and 2 players on the elbows. And do you have a basketball here that I could have real quick? Perfect. And are we color coordinated here to a certain extent? All right, let's put a defender right here on the elbow. Let's put a defender right here on the elbow. Okay, and then let's put an offensive player on the block as well. Yep, let's put a defensive player there. Defense go on the inside. Stay between your man and the basket. I'm sure you guys are playing pistols on defense. Want to keep you getting the rim. Okay, so now defensively we're here in these spots. And whatever you may be as a coach, you may want your guys on the line, up the line defensively, but right now we're going to be in the gaps to try to prevent penetration. When the ball changes sides, we close out, and right now, stay right there for me, fella. We're going to defend the post. So whatever our rules are, let's say we're 3/4 on the high side. I want you to put that right arm up, put that left arm on him, and get that left foot behind him so that way he can't seal you. You have good position. The you're active as a low man here, you're in protecting in the gap. Let's come on over to the nail here because you're taking away that gap. Now the ball comes back to me here, you work there, you work there. Anytime the ball's in the middle of the floor, we want to pull in. Anytime the ball's on a side, we want to pull over. Now it changes sides, we do the same thing on that side. And then whatever our talk is defensively, whether it's ball, nail, whatever our term is for 3/4 of the post, low man, we want to be executing that as we do it. Now when the ball comes back to me as a coach, I'm going to shoot it. You two guys, you guys are above the 3-point line, you're getting back. So you can go ahead and do that, fellas. Yep, go ahead and move your way back. And when this shot goes up, we're going to treat these guys like they're great offensive rebounders. So you're going to go sandwich rebound. Now when we talk about rebounding, there's a few things that we want to do when we're guarding or defensive rebounding. Number one, we've got to turn and check. Did our guys go to crash? If they didn't, that's going to tell us what to do next. We're going to turn and check. Did our guy go to crash? Okay, yes he did. Now we must go hit him. And if our guys didn't go to rebound, now we must come back and get in the fight. And in this case, if we've got two great offensive rebounders, we'd go ahead and double team block out. You go and sandwich him. And so you're putting your body on him, you're putting your body on him, and if he's in between the two of us defensively, come on right here, young fella, your job is to drive him under and get anything that comes over the top. So when the shot goes up and we miss, we defensive rebound it, and now we're converting onto offense. Okay, so let's say you're not a ball handler right now, you throw it to a ball handler. Okay, now as we're running back, you two guys are in a tandem, and we're trying to figure out, and so you may go that way, but if the ball's in the middle, we'd be more in an I. As we're running down defensively, we're working our way back. First thing we've got to do is declare the basketball. Go ahead and declare it. I got ball, very simply. Next, we got to protect the rim, and then we've got to locate threats. So we can go down 4-on-4, and back 4-on-4. And what it does is it puts us in a position where we have to communicate defensively as we're coming down the floor. Okay? Another thing that we can do to emphasize transition defense, we can do it in the half court. So let's get 4 defenders on those boxes and elbows in again, then let's go 4 around the perimeter. I'll take the ball right here. Okay, so one of the things that we can do, we'll just put a corner, a wing, and a wing on offense. Yep, so let's get a corner, and a wing, and a wing. Okay, so this is a base 4-man shell defense here that we're in. One of the things that we want to emphasize transition defense is we can say, you go start on that side of half court. So go ahead, come on back there. All right, so now wherever the ball goes, we're going to work on our communication and where we go defensively. So if I threw the ball to you right there, stop for a second, we're 3-on-4 for a count. So if the ball went past here and he's there, what do you have to do? You're going to have to rotate to him. And now you've got to be ready to rotate across. And as he's running back into the play, go ahead and throw it to the corner. What would make sense right now? And where would you tell him? You tell him to stay high because he's behind the basketball. So when we're behind the ball, we're always working opposite. And that way we can work on 3-on-4. And we're trying to teach kids how to play defensively, especially when they're in rotations. Disadvantage drills help do that. Okay, so if I'm 3-on-4, you put the ball back here, come back behind half court for me here. If you're the only guy here and the ball gets skipped to the corner, you have to take it. So if you can go ahead and skip it, you've got to take it. And now what makes sense in terms of our rotation? There you go. And now as you're running back into the play, you're telling to stay high. Exactly right. So when we're in disadvantage drills, it helps us work on rotations and understanding where to go and what to do. All right, so now we've gotten our defense set. We'll stay in this 4-man shell alignment. Can you take the basketball right here, please? All right, guarding the basketball. Individual defense, the more we can drill guarding the basketball, the better off we're going to be. Coach Larry Brown, when I was talking to him a number of years back, he said, I never drill closeouts. I only drill how to guard the basketball because I never want to be in closeout situations. If we're great guarding the ball, we don't have to rotate. And although that's a great statement and very applicable regardless of the level, we still are going to get into some rotations and we're still going to have to close out once in a while, even though Coach Brown never wanted to do it. Guarding the ball right now, whether you're a no middle, no paint team, whether you're a send them baseline team, whether you're square on the basketball team, we want to make sure that we're executing our fundamentals individually on the ball. Okay, so if you're guarding the basketball, and let's say we are influencing to the baseline, big point of emphasis for me is understanding foot positioning. Okay, so if your left foot is outside of his, or on this side of his right foot, it's going to be much harder for him to go to the middle. When we're guarding the basketball, we don't want to be fencers or swordsmen. We want to have more of a boxing or a fighting stance. So in this case here, if I guard the basketball like this, it allows for the direct line drive. We want to influence players where to go. We want to send them where we want to go. We want to dictate to the ball. We never want to give them where they want to go. So if we're guarding the basketball here in the staggered stance and we're sending them baseline, that's great right there. And one of the other indicators for us is you can put your nose on the shoulder that you want this guy to go. So if you put your nose on his right shoulder, it's going to position your foot correctly and you're telling him where he should drive the basketball. And then behind the basketball, we're working on our positioning. Whether you're 2 feet in the paint, coach, or you're everybody on the midline, or you're in the gaps right here, you're denying one pass away. When we're in our shell, we care very much about our positioning off the ball. We also care about our talk. So here, and sometimes players, we don't know what to do. I think about if I were on the playground playing with strangers, I would talk as I would want to be talked to. And in general, that goes with anything we do basketball. Pass as you want to be passed to. Talk as you want to be talked to. Treat your teammates as you would want to be treated. Regardless of who we are, that's usually a pretty good golden rule. Now as the ball moves and we have to close out, he's going to pass it to the corner. Stop for a second. Yep, you already did it. You're well coached. When we close out, you see what my man did here right off the bat. He didn't hoppity hop. He didn't saunter over there. It wasn't a canter like a horse. He turned and he sprinted. He put a hand up. So we want to close out. We always want to play defense by moving our feet. Then we want to play with our bodies, and then we want to use our hands. So what you did right there is excellent. You pivot, you run, you're right on them, and then we close out to touch or to distance, depending on what our scheme is or how good a shooter this guy is. Same exact thing there. Okay, so now, as that ball moves again, same principle. We turn and we sprint. And base rule for players, sometimes we talk about putting a hand up on the way out. Sometimes it's hard for guys to figure out. Easy one, when you're on the right side of the floor, use your right hand. When you're on the left side of the floor, use your left hand. Why does that make sense? If we're a team that's playing in the gaps as you are right here, we're going to talk about being shifted or shrinking and showing our help. We want to deter their penetration and take away their gaps and seams. So if this guy took 2 dribbles towards the middle, go ahead. One of the things that we could do is we could stunt. Stop for a second there. So when you stunt off the basketball, we want to stunt with our hand and foot nearest the ball. So if I stunt up and towards like this, it naturally takes me into the passing lane and into my closeout on the right side of the floor. Similarly, if the ball was right there, pass it, and the ball was driven this way, and you were in the gap right here, and you stunted up and towards the basketball, and you passed it, now it takes you right into the passing lane right there. Sometimes it's easier to get a deflection with your outside hand, but more often than not, this is going to put us in position to get a deflection and be in position to guard. Does that make sense to you guys right there? Okay, so now, as that guy dribbles it, one point of emphasis, and it depends on what level you're at defensively. You know, different levels have different rules for how much contact you can have. If the ball starts to be driven to the middle, we want to slide and chest as a base rule. So we slide, we chest, we want to get our head below his as a general idea. At certain levels, you can use your hands more than others. Okay, regardless of what we do, we always want to use our hands to brace for contact, to guide a player, or to deflect, trace, or contest a shot, or deflect, trace, or contest a pass. So what your right hand is doing right there, that would be to deflect, trace, or contest a shot, or to a pass. Now, can you come back here to the baseline, please? And this is something that's really important for us, and you see it more in the full court when you're picking up and pressing. When this ball gets driven, if your hips turn, young man, yep, and he starts to drive it, you feel him going towards the rim, and they turn, you're already doing it. We want to run. And you think when you're picking up full court, we want to put our nose on the basketball. When that guy drives, we want to run ahead of it, get our nose back on the basketball again. It's the same concept in the half court here in our individual defense. So you're always trying to run and get ahead of that ball. Okay, now the ball goes back to the baseline. Another important point in our shell here with 4 guys, but even if it's 5, if the ball gets skipped to the other side, we always move on the flight of the ball. So when the ball moves, we move. We're never standing and watching. Oftentimes, this is something that we all do. The ball moves, we turn and look. Anytime we turn and look, we should be following with our feet. So now we've got the basketball there, and now the ball goes to the corner. Okay, now when it gets driven baseline, we're all on a string. So if the baseline drive occurs, this guy's coming across to stop the basketball. Exactly right, stop right there. And this is something that's really important for us. Coach Brown uses the term thief. When When you're on the back side of the floor, you want to be a thief. Okay, but it's hard to do that if you two guys have your hands down. It's a lot easier to make direct line passes. It's a lot easier to throw that ball to your teammate if our hands are down. But when our hands are up, it becomes much more challenging. So regardless of what we're doing, and I as a coach oftentimes start looking at where players are and trying to make sure that we rotate correctly and we understand where to go, which is very, very important. But do not neglect how important it is to have high hands. When I was coaching in Milwaukee, we were playing defense there. We had a number of players that were really long athletes. Larry Sanders for a little bit, John Henson, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jabari Parker. We had a number of guys that could cover the court defensively with their length. And what we would do when we do our shell drill and shoot-around days, we put 24 seconds on the clock, and everybody in the gym had to have their hands up, and they had to run around with their hands up the whole time until the clock expired. The point on that was we wanted to be a great steals team. Finished second in the league in deflections, turnovers, and steals. Coach Mount's team in Philadelphia was #1 that year. But it helped us be the second best defense in the NBA, and we were not a great rebounding team, but we were excellent at getting steals. And it helped us on offense because we didn't have anybody who could shoot. We had a bunch of guys who couldn't throw rice into the ocean, and it was really hard for us to shoot, but we could run and beat the guy on the floor, and if we shot it, we could go chase it. So regardless of that, we want to put our hands up here on the basketball. Now this is important on the backside. You're exactly right. We're in a good position here. And regardless of what you do as a coach, we want to make sure that our players understand where to be and how to see the floor. So one easy thing on the backside is oftentimes players ask about, who should I look at? Should I see him, or should I see him, or should I see him? My general rule is if I can see my man in the ball, that's a good positioning because my feet will set my eyes. And then I can check wherever it is that I need to check from there. So if you can see your man in the basketball, you're probably in decent shape. And you're going all the way down to the baseline, you're not influencing it one way. But in an ideal world, we want to influence non-penetrating passes. So in this case, if that ball went back there, it becomes the easiest. You can tell you're well coached there because you're already reverse pivoting, passing it out. Now we close out here, and now we can all work back home. And we're all back into our spots. And it's important for us if we're getting a gap team and we're shrinking the floor team, we don't rotate out of that baseline trap to bodies. We rotate out to the gaps. Now, if we're a denied team, then we would rotate out. But anytime we have to put two to the basketball and the ball gets moved, we have to be ready for whatever's next. And oftentimes that pass right there is a shot, a drive, or a swing. So if you're right there in the gap, now you're helping to deter that penetration. Put the ball back with your teammate there, please. Okay, like we talked about, the ball gets driven baseline. We're in position here. And if the ball were passed to the corner, we must rotate from there. So if we rotate from there, exactly right. You're always thinking about leaving that trap and going somewhere else. We're moving on the flight of the pass. So if it went there and the ball came here, and sometimes we may say, hey, we're going to leave the big guy in when he stops the basketball, get the small guy out. That's up to you as a coach based on your personnel and your skill set. But we're always looking to move on the flight of the pass. Okay, so now we're in the shell here and we're ready to protect. The ball gets moved again and we're all moving with it. Okay, now, one of the things that's really hard to figure out for players oftentimes is if that ball gets beaten middle. And what do we do? And this is important for us. Let's just take two dribbles and say you got beat middle here. Okay, stop for a second. You got the right idea here if we're trying to take away that gap and see you're in a stun. But if it clears you at the nail, go ahead and take one more dribble. Now the same concept applies. If you have to stop the basketball, we're saying we're helping from the weak side. Exactly right. Once it gets below you, you have a responsibility. So it may be to influence that pass, or if it goes to the corner, throw it to the corner please, you may have to X out. And then this is something that's important. We all have principles of what we're doing defensively. So we may have the rotations that we like, and as coaches, we're going to try to give these guys structure and make sure that they understand where to go, how to do it, and why they do it. But regardless of that, one of the easiest things to remember in basketball is when you see an open man, go guard him. So in this case here, who would we rather have leave? Sometimes we may want it to be you in an ideal world, but if this guy can shoot and the ball gets swung there, go ahead and throw it, nearest man leave, see an open man guard him. Another easy rule to remember is if a guy shoots it, what should we do? Contest the shot. And in various levels, but especially with us, whatever team we've been with, we've seen over and over and over again, the better the contest, harder it is for guys to make shots. Regardless of their shooting percentage, you always lower it. Now, one of the things that we can look at when we're contesting shots, when we freeze the tape, is was your hand below or above the basketball? And if it's above the basketball, that's something that really makes it hard for guys to shoot. Rick Majerus was one of the coaches who helped me get into coaching, and one of the things he would always talk about when you contest a shot, you want to change the trajectory of the shot. A hand in the face for some players may be tough. Changing the trajectory of the shot makes it harder for that guy to shoot the basketball, no matter who it is. And that's why we want to change that trajectory. The higher the hand, the harder it is to shoot. Now, if we leave our feet, some coaches we teach don't leave your feet. Other coaches we do teach our leave our feet. We always want to jump second. And if we jump second and we give a vertical contest, we can still get our hand above that basketball, even versus the taller player, while still being in good position to handle a shot. So in that case, you jump second, get that hand above the ball, challenge the shot. Okay, so now we talked a little bit about our base shell defense here. We talked a little bit about individual defense guarding the basketball. Now let's talk about one of the things that's hard for us if we've got a very good post player inside. How do we play versus that guy? One of the things that we can do is we can look to front of him. So let's say you come down to the block here, let's put the ball in the wing here. So regarding the basketball, whatever our terminology is for a front, whether we have a closed front or we put our butt on them, we want to be ready to protect and take that shot away, or take that pass away, excuse me. We don't want to give a direct line pass up when we're fronting. So let's go ahead and say you're going to step through on this and get to a full front for me. So put your butt on his knee, please. Yep. And so now this is the same, and this is something that's really important. Coach that I worked with for a number of years, Tim Gergerich, would always try to figure out what is the same as the same as the same as the same. And what I mean by that is a post up is the same as a front, is the same as a block out. So the more we can make it the same for these players, the easier it is and the simpler it is for them to remember. So if I tell you to sit on his knee here and drive him back with your hands up, that's the same as a block out. Now, sometimes we have to turn and check and use our hands. Face guard, in general, we want to drive him back with our butt. And it would be the same as if you were trying to post him up and get a good catch. So now we're fronting here, and we've got a guy behind ready to protect, and you're getting ready to protect your teammate. And whatever our call for front is, whether it's front, or white, or black, whatever it may be, when you are fronting the post, we are all fronting the post. We're playing team defense. And what that means for you on the basketball is ball pressure. Because if I hear my teammate behind me take away a pass, I need to help him. And it goes the same with that trap situation on the baseline. Those two players' high hands helps everybody else. Your ball pressure helps everybody else. Okay, now, one of the things that you already know too is when you pressure the ball, what do you have behind you? Go ahead and take a look behind you. You've got a teammate right there. Would you rather have him drive it to the middle or drive it to the baseline? Baseline, there you go, way to go. You're a straight A student, 4.0 Honor Society, I can tell. So I want to pressure the basketball right here and influence them to the baseline. Yep, you could be even a little bit more up into it, because we got help there. And now let's just think about this. If he drove it baseline, take two dribbles and pick it up, please, for me. And this guy were to go to the middle, right where that top of the restricted circle is, you're ready to protect him, and you're ready to protect him, and you're ready to stop the basketball. Okay? And then the same thing. If the ball went to the weak side corner, go ahead and pass it, please. You're ready to go there. Now stop for a second. Who's closest amongst us? So what makes the most sense? And oftentimes that's what we would teach as a coach. We would teach you to X out on that. And then the same thing, exactly right. We're sprinting behind, and we're getting in front of them. We're all working together. Let's put it back with our teammate there. All right, so we talked about this is the same as the this is the same as the zip. Okay, so if the ball goes over the top here, yep, and he's behind you, we need help there, and now we're all working together, same spots. You're helping him, you're helping him. Let's say the ball went to the corner. Yep, stay right there for a count. Okay, now this is a tough one. Sometimes this will happen. Come on back to that trap. Who's closest right now? So by rule, we may say that we want you to lead, but sometimes as coaches, we need to go through and look at it and say, what makes sense? In this case, if it makes more sense for you to run there, sometimes we may need to do that. And When we drill it, we may have you run all the way up there, but there's certain times in the game where that see an open man guard him principle supersedes what we may have as coaches. And when you watch film of your opponents and you watch your team practice, that to me is one of the things that you can really help your players and educate them on what makes the most sense in terms of where to go and how to do it. And even anybody, you guys understand what we're talking about there on the front? Okay, so now let's see if we can do it here from the backside. Yep. And you can throw the ball wherever you want. You can throw it over the top, you can drive it, and then you pass it, and then we rotate out of it one time. Okay, go ahead. Yep, wherever you want. And now, really important here, and this goes back to our principle in transition. If you're running to take that ball right there because your team is not sure, you would say mine, 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 ball, 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 me, whatever your terminology is for who has the basketball. And now that helps everybody figure out what to do. One of the things that we see happen sometimes is we may see two players run to one. And in general, if it's your primary matchup, you would stay, you would leave. You're trying to be a good teammate and help out. If you see your teammate beat you there and it's his guy, run back to yours. Get back to where we want to be off the basketball. Does that make sense to you guys there? Okay, one of the other things I want to think about here defensively is pick and roll execution. And I'm going to talk a little bit about switching. You can go back in the corner here for a second. When we switch pick and rolls, when we trap pick and rolls, when we play in a drop coverage or whatever different coverages we have, as a general rule, we must communicate which direction we want the ball to be sent, except for a few situations like the early slip outs and the ghosts. But in general, we want to communicate direction. And on the ball, we want to make sure they don't beat us away from the screen. Okay? So if we're playing pick and roll defense and we're switching it, as your man runs into it, come on, take a couple steps up here, young fellas, stop right there. We want to get our bodies on that guy. As a general rule, when players are running towards the basketball, we want to have some physicality when we touch those guys, especially if we're trying to switch. And so an easy one for us right here is you can put your chest on his shoulder. So as he's running into it, you put your chest on his shoulder. Similar to what you did in the hard three quarters on the high side. My foot's behind him, my chest is on him, and that way it makes it harder for him to slip out, slip roll, whatever it may be. When we're teaching players to execute versus the switch on offense, we want them as screeners to arrive alone. Because if he gets there before his defender, it creates a gap in the switch, and now it allows for more indecision and more confusion. One can put pressure on the rim, one can pop to the perimeter, so on and so forth. But if you have your body on him, it makes it a lot harder. And now this is what we talked about, we move our feet defensively, we use our hands, and we play with our bodies. So when you're coming up here, and you put your body on him, now it makes it easier, especially if you want to switch under. So your job is to take away that guy beating it away, and then as he dribbles off, stop for a second, we're both working together to take away the split, and then you're switching in an angle to take away his ability to dribble around. And if you switch under, same concept. You put your chest on his shoulder, and then as this guy dribbles away, and if he were to pop, you're right to the gap. If he were to roll, you stand him up and you slow down his roll. And nothing changes for you guys behind. You're engaged, and this guy slipped past the defender, you're ready to protect him. If we were to trap a pick and roll, come on back here please, and let's go through trapping it. Nothing changes in terms of what we're doing and taking away the guy's ability to beat it away. Nothing changes in terms of you guys working together to take away the split. Nothing changes in terms of you taking away his ability to dribble around you. It's just more aggressive. We want to keep two on the basketball here. So come on over the top, and let's put two on the basketball. Okay, now he's going to roll out, and the same concept applies here. You're going to protect, but once he gets past you, now you're thinking more about the backside. And your coaches, you may say, we're going to keep everybody in the paint to deter that pass. We want the non-penetrating pass, no problem, but if that ball does go behind him, and if you can take it on the basketball, you've got the backside. Over to the corner. Yep, now what makes sense? You leave the trap. If you're behind the basketball in transition, you go opposite. If you're behind the ball in the trap, it all works together. So we always have a job to do. Can you go back to the pick and roll real quick here, please? Okay, so if we're going to trap a pick and roll, take 2 steps back from me, young fella. Keep the ball right here. we would communicate a direction. So whether that may be pick right, pick left, down, weak, strong, whatever it may be for us, ice, we want to make sure that we make that call early, loud, and continuous. And a general rule of thumb is if I'm guarding the screener, I want to scream that thing out 3 times. Because on the basketball, especially if I'm locked in as a defender, I may not hear so well. Guy that we coached in Detroit and in Dallas, Reggie Bullock, was a great on-ball defender, really pursued hard in pick and rolls, gave his body up, tough as nails, but he had a tough time hearing things at times because he was so locked in guarding the basketball. So we want that thing to be like a gun going off in his head. Bang! Get to his body. And when we do get to his body, we want to get to his body, and based on the rules, we want to close that distance with our feet and not reach for him with our hands. Because if you back up for a second here and you reach for him with your hands and he's clever, he can beat it away, he can do different things to beat you, split it. But if we go to his body with our feet and use our hands, it becomes harder for him to maneuver. And in general, we want our elbows and our forearms to be short. We don't want to have long hands there, we want to have short hands because we want to bring our bodies to the basketball. One thing for you we talked about is that guy's running up, we want physicality. But now let's think about it. If he's going to come off this pick and roll this way, what side do you have to get on? Yeah, exactly. You got it right. So as he works his way up in your physical, you've got to get in position here. And whatever our coverage is, especially if it's a trap, I want to be in this position early. Because when you're behind your man, surprise defense doesn't work against the good ball handlers. They see a gap or a seam to drive it. But if you're in position early, go ahead and take one more step over. Yep. And he sees you, now he's more hesitant. It acts as a stop sign for him. So on the basketball, when you hear that call, we get to the body with a tight elbow. When we're on the screener, we want to be in position early. Oftentimes we talk to our bigs when we were in different places, we would say, you're not in ice position. When you make the call, you are wrong. When you make the call, ice, 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 or blue, 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 we want to be in blue position. And it's the same as when we're fronting in the post. If you're in a front, we're all in a front. If you're in a trap, we're all in a trap. If you're in a down or an ice, we're all in a down or an ice. So it all works together. If you're switching there, we're switching behind. We want to make sure that we always have the team defense concept built into whatever it is that we're doing. And then from there, we want to make sure that we understand what the game plan is and then what the tendencies of the opponent are. Avery Johnson, who played here, was my first boss in the NBA with the New Jersey Nets. And Avery always talked about a pyramid defensively, that your system is at the bottom, whatever our base is. Then you go to the game plan. Whatever the game plan is, there's certain great players or teams that run things that we have to adjust our system for, and that may change a little bit from opponent to opponent. And then we go to the tendencies, which is at the top of the pyramid. And the other team's tendencies are going to change night to night. Our system never changes. Our game plan may change a little bit, and tendencies change wholesale. So for us as coaches, we always want to think about how much can we apply our system defensively to what they're doing, how much do we have to game plan for what they're doing, and then what tendencies do they have and how much do we have to change and understand who they are, how they want to play, and how do we stop them. So for me, I think that's about it defensively. Are there any questions you guys have that I can answer? Yes, sir. Yep. So you're saying they're trying to move early to create the indecision? Okay, so what he asked is the guy's running into a pick and roll or a screen, and is it more of a pop, coach, or is it more of a roll, or both? A roll. So he's trying to run in and then hip tap and get out. Okay, so one of the things that we can do it a couple different ways, but to me the easiest one is we want to force that switch as our base. So I've got to make sure that I put my body on that guy early. When you play the Oklahoma City Thunder, they do that a lot, where they try to just get you to move your feet a little bit and then get out. So one of the things that you can do, instead of saying switch right in this case, I can tell that defender on the basketball to stay square, whatever term we want to have, square, 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 whatever it may be. Can you come on back here? I'm going to take your spot here, young fella. So as he's running into it, and I tell you square, 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 what square means is do not open up. Guard the basketball. You are one-on-one. And then we can say, hey, we're going to switch on contact. So if they hit, we switch. If they don't hit, no screen, no scheme. But I want the switch. As I drive him up and I call square, 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 now I can force that guy into it. The other thing that you can look into is going over or under to a switch if it's giving you more problems. Sort of like more like a big guy would do in a late switch. So in this case, I may say ice, ice, ice. I want you to fight over. Yep. And then once you clear it, I can call switch, switch, switch. Keep going, because he's going to try to penetrate. Switch, switch, switch. You're out, and now I'm back here, and I've got that guy behind me. So there's different ways to do it. Some teams will just say, hey, if we call switch, it means switch in general, and the low man's got to be there. But my preference is, as a general rule, to put my body on that guy as much as I can without getting called for fouls, because it's harder for offensive players to run through the contact than it is to go freely.
We're going to have a couple more questions, Coach. I think we got some mics now in the stand, so if you have any questions, put your hand up high, and then someone will find you with the mic and you can ask a question. We got a couple more. I think we'll go right here in the middle.
For sandwich rebounding, do you ever simulate having somebody get sandwiched in the middle of the paint?
Yeah, and so one of the things that we may do is we may move the ball a little bit more to the side in that case. So if you're over here, right here, young fella, yep, and let's just put the ball with you. Go ahead and guard him there. Go ahead and guard the corner. Let's put you down right on the block. Yep, and we'll do it different ways, Coach, but one of the ways that we'll do it is we'll put the ball right there, and then we'll have a player shoot it. And then as he circles into the middle, now you're checking your guy and you're going to sandwich him right there. But we typically, if we did that, we'll do it more like one guy. And hey, it's a dominant rebounder guy coaching Detroit, Andre Drummond. If we're getting ready to play Andre Drummond, we would do it more with like one guy like that we have to be ready to block out as a double team. That same thing, you're checking your guy. If he doesn't take off the crash, you come in to help, checking there. And then that guy who shot the basketball, he would challenge it, come in, and then we go the other way.
Hey, Coach, just for elementary school kids, what concepts would you focus on the most for elementary school kids?
I think to me, the thing that I would focus on the most for them is guarding the basketball, understanding how to move their feet correctly, and then the other thing I would work on a lot with them is, what do I do when I'm not guarding the ball? Like I'm either guarding the basketball or I'm helping to guard the basketball behind it. And I think that's really important for those kids. When I talked about the disadvantage drill, if you do that without dribbling, you know, and you just got to pass it, it helps teach those kids the understanding of, if I'm the only player on this floor, I have to guard someone. If he or she goes to guard the corner and I'm at the top of well, I'm the next person, I have to guard someone. So those like 5-on-4 or 4-on-3 kind of disadvantage drills help teach what they have to do behind the basketball. But number one to me would be, let's start with getting down in a stance, being ready to move our feet. How do we want to position ourselves? And then sliding, and then if we have to turn our hips, running, and that nose on the basketball or on a shoulder concept, I think is something that's really important for elementary school kids. Yeah.
Thank you, Coach.
Last question for Coach Sweeney.
Hey, good morning, coaches. Coach Johnson, how are you, sir? Coach, respect you. Thank you for your time. One quick question. I want to know about the terminology. Like when Wemby's out here with all the guys, is he saying line, line, line? Is it nail, nail, nail coming from overseas, right? I'm curious as to what he hears over there and how he's kind of bringing that over here. Or is there just like a common terminology that's being used amongst the players here in the U.S. and over in Europe that, you know, they clash with? Because I want to tell the boys, I want to go back, and when we have our first practice, it's like, hey, this is what the Spurs are saying.
Yeah, that's a good question, and the answer is whatever Coach Johnson tells him to do.
I'll actually take that. Something I've learned from Coach Brett Brown, Coach Pa, talking to coaches like Coach Bonnie, think of it just like a teacher, right? So your curriculum will have a certain type of language or terminology you use. And the more consistent that language can be, the easier it's going to be for people to, whether that's learn and comprehend things over time or to be able to communicate. So I think as a coach, one of the things that I've had to really put a lot of time and energy into in this transition has been, there's decades of curriculum that have been put in place previous to me that I've coached under for almost a decade. And some of that is very, very close for how I've coached for a long time, and some of it I probably have something that is different than what I would say when I'm leading it, and that's where I have to make that decision. But I would say, as a head coach or as a staff, your curriculum is extremely important. From what Coach Sweeney just went through and all the communication to be on the same page, and then our next speaker is going to talk about development and how it's all connected. And a lot of that, again, is through your terminology and your language and your curriculum, because you can go team defense, you can go individual defense, we're going to hear about development, I may be play calling, and all those words, all that language is going to come up in all those different areas. So I say that's something that's really, really important as you think through that. Let's give it up for Coach Sweeney. One thing that's very impressive is that was about 40 minutes of defense, not a lot of hang time, right? Coach was talking almost consistently through that whole time. And I don't think there was anything that he said that probably almost all of us didn't already know or understand or be able to comprehend. And that's one thing I think that's really important. That's just an extremely high level amount of attention to detail and consistency and thoroughness of very simple vanilla basketball. It's just good fundamentals, it's connected defense, it's communicating, it's focusing on the fundamentals. But that's 40 minutes right there of, again, any level, if you stuck to that and applied that, what's applicable to your level, and do that consistently, think of how well your team can be trained. As we saw those guys, you guys did a great job with it, right? Almost everything Coach alluded to, those guys already had a little bit of a head up on, which isn't surprised by obviously who they play for. I also want to commend, when we were over here on the bench, looking out to you people, you coaches and parents and basketball minds, the attentiveness and the focus that you guys had on what was going on, and the amount of notes that I saw being taken is impressive. When you get to be able to be exposed to the level of basketball and expertise that Coach Sweeney just went through for 40 minutes, ask questions, take notes, be curious, push yourself, and then go home later, tomorrow, or whatever it is, look at it again and think about it more. And how would you do it? What would you change? What would make it hard for you to do in your situation? But it's pretty impressive looking out and seeing all the notes being taken and how much you guys were paying attention. The next person that I'm going to introduce is Mike Noyes. He's from Connecticut, played at UConn.
You guys hear me okay? Sorry, talking a little loud. Like you said, I'm Mike Noyes. I'm going to start off. Who can tell me where Stephon Castle went to college? There we go, UConn, love it. So that's about the only thing me and Steph have in common. I walked on there, and my basketball career started about 10 years ago there. And I was not as good of a player as Steph. And so I said, okay, I want to get into coaching. I have a heavy math background from college, and I combined that with my basketball background. And I got a job with the Memphis Grizzlies. And so I started in their analytics department, moved into their video room, ultimately ended up in player development. I got hired here 2 summers ago now. At the time, my girlfriend Jacqueline, now my fiance. And we say it all the time, we hope we're here for a long, long time. So thank you all for being here. Excited to get to know you guys better, hopefully over decades to come. Okay? My goal today, my goal is not show you these drills, do these drills. You shouldn't be walking out here, oh, if we do that, we're going to be great. My goal today is just to make you guys think a little bit differently about the game. Okay? So hopefully you can take a drill and tweak it to your personnel. Hopefully you can take something I say and apply it to when you're presenting to your team, right? So everything I say, whether you agree with it or not, whether it's good, bad, have an open mind, and I hope to enhance that perspective. So, like Mitch said, I lead player development, and I get this question a lot. What's your philosophy on player development? Now, I always distinguish between these 2 things. There's player development and there's team development. And it's important to distinguish. Player development is what we all think about. You got a coach out here passing, you're getting up shots. Player development is individualistic. It is a lot of the on-ball skills. It is ball handling, passing, finishing, and shooting, right? Oftentimes when we do player development, one person out here, you can't work on defense, you can't work on off-ball offense, screening, right? You can't work on rebounding because those things require more than one person. And so what you're seeing in the NBA a lot recently, guys like their trainers, guys do their own work, but there are way more group workouts, and we pride ourselves in that. And that's gone on far before I was here. San Antonio has always been team first. And so with that, I'd like to start by just talking about team development. So what is team development? It's the group workouts I just talked about. But how we approach team development, I'm going to go through kind of what I've designed here as the 5 P's. And hopefully that helps you remember it. Principles, present, practice, play, and progress. One more time. Principles, present, practice, play, and progress. So, what are principles? I'd like to start with, principles is this big buzzword. You guys probably hear it in podcasts, read it in articles. Principles have been around forever. It just sounds pretty, right? Principles are rules with which you want your team to play. So don't be overwhelmed when you hear, oh, we need our principles to play. They're just rules. They're just guidelines for the players. The goal of principles, to provide clear intentions so that everyone is on the same page. That is the only point of principles. And so I'm going to walk you through one right now, and hopefully you can apply it to your team. When thinking of principles, don't try to control everything. Ask yourself, think about your team right now, your personnel right now, think about what you want to get out of it. What are your priorities? That's where you start with your principles, okay? So, how do you win a basketball game? We present this to our guys all the time. I talk about this all the time. The staff's probably sick of me talking about this. There's 2 ways to win a game. You make more shots, or you take more shots. It's as simple as that. You either are more efficient from the field, or you create more shots. Now, efficiency, sometimes younger teams struggle with efficiency, right? You got a team, every coach goes through it at every level. Oh, we don't have guys who can shoot, right? Yeah, hopefully over time they get better at shooting. Hopefully player development helps with that, right? That's the distinguishment between player development and team development. All right? So, you and your staff meet and you say, okay, it's going to be hard to make more shots. How do we take more shots? What is this opportunity battle that I'm referring to? There's 2 ways. You can turn the other team over, right? You can force more turnovers, or you can grab more rebounds. A lot of that is offensive crashing, and you've seen that a ton in the NBA. There are teams like Houston, Orlando. They crash the glass relentlessly. They don't win the efficiency battle. They don't make more shots on any given night, but they tend to win games because of the opportunity battle. Now, both are important. Both those teams win games by being more efficient, but they hang their hat on, we are going to win the opportunity battle. So let's say that's where your staff's at. Your staff is, we're going to win the opportunity battle every night. How do we design principles around that? Let's say shot goes up. What can we tell our team when the shot goes up? Pretend this is the free throw line. We're going this way. If you are below the free throw line, you crash the offensive glass every single time. So corners below the free throw line, you crash every time. If you are above the free throw line, you get back in transition. Those are pretty clear intentions. Right now, I'm making that up. You could say they're inside the three-point line. It doesn't matter. But that is what principles are. They are clear intentions to get everyone on the same page that attempt to eliminate the gray area. There will always be gray area, but they try to make sure, hey, this is how we play. You can freeze a frame and say, who's supposed to crash, who's to get back. Which brings me to my next point. Anyone remember the second P?
Present.
Present, right? Present is the second P. Some of you remembered it, some of you looked at it. No, it's a good job. Present. How do you present? I'm going to give you 3 keys when you present. The first one, the more you can use visuals, the better. Players learn through visuals. Visuals aid in retention. So it's one thing to tell the team, but if you show them a bunch of clips above the free throw line, they're much more likely to remember it. So always try to use visuals when you're presenting to your team. Okay? The second piece here, try to make it a conversation. Try to ask more questions, okay? I can come up here, I can show film, and I can say, Brett, you're supposed to crash. Mitch, Sean, you get back, right? But why can't I freeze the frame and say, who's supposed to crash? You see the difference there? You get the engagement, people are paying attention. That is the whole idea. So try to use visuals. Always use questions that's on the court and when you're presenting. And the last piece is repetition. It's funny, we do this all the time. We're like, okay, we taught them this, why can't they do it? Right? Training takes time. I say this a lot. There are no good and bad basketball teams. There are talented players, but there are trained teams and there are untrained teams. And in order to train your team, it takes reps and reps and reps. So if you deem something as a priority as your coaching staff, and you expect the players to get it after one film session, it's probably not going to connect the dots that quickly. Okay? So we talked about our principles, we talked about presenting to the team. What's the third one? Practice, right? How do we design practice to apply these principles? So an easy one here, we have used this, we do use this. If offensive rebounding is a priority, below the free throw line, above the free throw line, right? +1 for any offensive rebounding practice, go. Right? What that does, the rules of the game are what influence our behavior. Repeat that. The rules of the game are what influence our behavior. If we want to change behavior, reverse engineering that, we change the rules. So if we say you're going to get a point for offensive rebounding, what are people probably going to do? They're going to crash the glass a little bit more. And we've seen that over time. Okay? So that is just one example. There are other examples you can use. If a player's below the free throw line and he doesn't crash, maybe it's an automatic turnover, right? You can add those sort of things, those sort of constraints. We will talk a lot more about constraints as we get going here and I bring these guys out on the court to help. Okay, so we've gone through our principles. We've presented to the team, we've practiced it. We're ready to play our first game. I just gave it away. What's our 4th P?
Play.
Play. This is a funny one. I talk to our staff about this a lot. Coaches want control, and they really want control when the game's going on. And I would argue some of the best coaches are those that can relinquish control and trust their team. Okay, so when you're a coach, especially for you younger coaches, you want to win and you're competitive, that's all of us, but one of the worst things you can do is just yell at your player every single thing they're supposed to be doing. If someone's telling me right now, step with your left foot, step with your right foot, now I'm overthinking, now it's hard to do everything else, right? So when you do play, I'm not saying do not coach. During dead balls, maybe at halftime, you say, hey, we leave 2 offensive rebounds. What are we doing? We got to crash the glass, remind them, right? That is coaching. But let players make mistakes. It facilitates learning. All of us make mistakes. And so if you let them make their own mistakes, they're more likely to learn from it quicker and more efficiently. So as much as we want to control things, trust me, I'm in those shoes too, the more we can let our players play and review it after the fact, review it at dead balls, that's usually 1, players like playing period a little bit more, and 2, you're more likely to get retention. Anyone remember that last beat?
Progress.
Progress. How do we know if we're getting better? So all of this sounds good, and you get, like coaches like saying, yeah, we feel like we're getting better at it. You pass the eye test. In order to truly measure progress, you need a measurement. You need a number. And this could be something as simple as telling your team, hey, we want to get 10 offensive rebounds every game. And after each game, you tell them the number, right? This could be you have a coach tracking offensive rebounds, and over the course of the season, Is it improving? But we have to measure progress in order to tell if we're getting better. Those are the 5 Ps of team development. You can apply this to anything. Let's say you have a team that's smaller and our advantage is playing faster. You can do the same thing. Maybe our pace principle is everyone has to cross half court in 4 seconds, right? That's our principle. How do we present it to the team? What were the 3 things? Do we remember? Anyone? I heard visuals, asking questions, exactly what I'm doing to keep engagement, right? And then over and over and over again. So we do that. How do we do it in practice? Well, if all 5 players don't cross half court in 4 seconds, it's a turnover. If they're turning the ball over, it's probably going to change their behavior. And so I challenge you, don't just do offensive rebounding, don't just do pace. Think about what's a priority to your team, and then apply those 5 Ps to plan your season out. Okay? Is everyone clear on team development? I'm going to jump to player development. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them all at the end afterward. So, player development. Can I have 4 of you guys out here to help out? And we'll get a basketball. We can use this side this time, I guess. I'm good to use this side? Let's hand them the basketball. So this is more of a fun one to get started. I don't want you guys running into this camera. I lied. We're going to use this side. So, as you guys are paying attention, think about what you're looking at as we go through this drill. Think about what you're looking at. I want you guys to start right here. This is going to be a weird one. You've probably never done this before. I want you to sprint as fast as you can, and try to make a layup. 2 things you can't do. You can't slow down and you can't jump. Go. Sprint as fast, no, you're not dribbling. Sprint as fast as you can. Make a layup. That's not as fast as you can. Sprint as fast as you can, see if you can make a layup. Don't slow down. You're slowing down a little. Missed it long. Sprint, don't slow down. You're jumping. We're not allowed to jump, fellas. Sprint, keep sprinting. There it is. Sprint through. Looks crazy, right? It's hard. So, what were you guys watching? A lot of you are probably watching the ball, right? That's what I do. Some of you are watching what they're doing. Some of you are laughing at what they're doing, watching the next guy, thinking about, what would I do here? The biggest thing with player development, if you're focused on player development, is watch the body. Do not watch the ball. And so the basketball, it cannot move without a force acting on it. And so when we're doing this, there's 2 ways to slow the ball down. I took one of them away. It's jumping, right? If I'm running fast, my momentum's moving in this direction. If I jump this way, I slow my body down. I'm no longer moving this way, right? So that's one way to finish. You guys, if you could have jumped, some of you can dunk, you would go up, and you'd probably slow your body down and speed the ball up by shooting it overhand. What you guys did, you weren't allowed to jump, so where was your hand placement on the ball? It was underneath. And this is a funny one. Think about when you catch an egg or a watermelon. We're going like this, right? We're slowing it down so it doesn't break. Same idea with finger moves. If I am running fast and I need to slow the ball down, some sort of force needs to be acting on the ball this way. And so with that, we're so focused on the ball a lot of times, it's our body that controls the ball. And so as we go through player development and we move into team development, keep that in mind, okay? 2 of you are going to help me with this next one. I want you guys, 1 start here on offense, 1 start here on defense. We just need 1 ball. You guys can alternate. For this next piece of things, I think we got a bunch of time. I'm going to go through stuff, and I'm going to coach a little bit, and I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit, and hopefully you guys at the end can write down your questions. So this will be a little less clinic-y. We'll go through a plethora of drills, and you can make them your own. Okay, so right here, you're going to start here. You're going to start on his hip, sideways right here. Offense, defense. You can do this with your guys. You're going to split left foot forward and move in just a little bit of step here. So after we pick up the dribble, you get those 2 steps, right? You're going to take 3 dribbles. On that 3rd dribble, you can play, okay? Your job is you can't move until he moves. Before we start this, I want to explain where you can move this if you have extra help, okay? Like if you have a coach on defense. There's 3 places a defender can be. 1, he could be behind the offensive player. In this case, we want to cut off the offensive player as much as we can. Ideally, our last step is right here, because now we have both sides of the rim to finish. This is especially important when you have 7-foot shot blockers up there, right? You use the rim, you use the net to protect. Defense can be behind. The defense can also be on the side. This happens a lot. The defense is on the side. Same idea. We are driving toward that midline. Your step should be pushing toward the midline. You are trying to make sure he cannot get back in front. If we can cut off the defender at any time, we're winning the possession. Whatever happens after decision making, we'll work on it. But we want to be able to cut off the defender. The last piece is the defenders in front. This is where we get to our counters. A lot of times this ends up being a spin move, a 2-foot finish, which is what I'll talk about, right? Euros aren't quite as common at the younger age. That is there too. So all I want you to do, you guys can go one after the other right here. You're gonna be split, you're gonna start on the side. You're gonna go 1, 2. On that third dribble, you have your 2 steps. You guys are playing one-on-one. You guys got it? Ready to go? Let's see it. Cheated a little bit, didn't take the third dribble, but good job. His steps are toward the midline. That is what we're watching. We're not watching the ball, right? We're watching the body. Go ahead. Good. He only took 1 step, you all right? Good. He only took 1 step, finished off his right foot. Why did he do that? Maybe he couldn't get to the midline. Let's see it again. Go ahead, a couple more reps. Good, fighting for that midline, watching where his hand is relative toward the ball. Good bump, 2-foot finish, right? 1 or 2 more here. Good, slowed his body down and then gave the ball power so the defender flew by. Great job. If we can cut off the defender, we always want to do that. So you guys get the point here. When we're coaching, we're watching the player's body. We are watching their footwork. Everything starts from the ground up. I have no force here. Everything starts from the ground up. So we call that our elbow finishing series. You guys good? Your ankle good? All right, we're going to keep the peak here. This is a big one we use. It's our pivot finishing series. So we just talked about 1-foot finishing. Now we have 2-foot finishing. All I want you guys to do, you're going to get warm right here. You're going to step through, and you're going to finish with your hand on the side of the ball right here. Go ahead, 1 each. So we start with this. Usually you guys go one after the other. Go ahead, whenever you're ready. I'm going to talk over you guys. We start with this every day. I do this. I mentioned Steph Castle. I do this with Steph every day. We start making 3 in a row both sides, okay? So you guys get the gist. You step through, and you finish on this side of the rim. We good on that. The next iteration, we're building a triangle with our steps here. So you're going to start from me. What's your name? Corbin? Corbin, you're going to start from me. First step is the same exact thing we just did. This is point 1 of the triangle. Our eyes are to the rim. We want to turn around, and we're going to shoot this jumper. Some players have left-handed hook, right-handed hook. We're going to shoot this jumper. Go ahead. This is the second iteration. First point of the triangle, second point of this triangle. When we do this, our center of mass should be low. So try to stay low. Your core should be turned on. Again, we're focused on the body. We're not focused on the ball. Center of mass is low. Step, turn around. Someone give me a make. There we go. Perfect. Next one. Last piece of this triangle finishing series, or pivot finishing. First point of the triangle, eyes to the rim. Second point, we're turning around here. Take those 2 steps. What happens a lot in this scenario, go ahead and turn. This defender is going to push. If I push him and that foot is not ready, he's going to move. So when we turn back, and move forward, you stay right there. When we turn back on this, we want this foot to be here relative to the rim because I can drive off here. If someone pushes me here, I'm more sturdy. If I over-rotate and get pushed, or if I under-rotate and get pushed, I'm not balanced. So much around the rim is predicated on balance. It has nothing to do with the ball. So step, you're going to turn around, step. As a coach, you can be pushing right here, make sure they're turned on, and you're stepping through, not around, you're stepping through my hip to the rim. That angle is everything, okay? 1 rep each, go ahead through. Those are 1 point of the triangle, 2 points of the triangle, 3 points of the triangle. I can't do that. 1, 2, 3, perfect. We get the point here. Got it. When we do this, try to keep the ball high. 1 more rep, we just saw him drop the ball, that allows for strips. Talk about chin to rim is a phrase we use. We want to keep the ball at our chin, and it goes to the rim. We got it? Match up 2-on-2 here. Who's against who? Give me one of the balls. I'm going to coach you guys through this. 1 player on offense, 1 player on defense. It's pivot finishing. Stand right there, you got the ball right here. You guys can do this with your players, your team. It can be a warm-up. You can modify it, which I will do as we go on. You have no dribbles, there's no shot clock. You're playing. Go ahead. 1-0, there you go. Next rep, let's see it. Good finish. Nice pump fake, perfect. Love it. Maybe we've done this before. Well done. Last one. There we go, finally got to stop. I guess you're paying attention to Sean. So now, if I want to change behavior, I change the rules. Let's say we have a right-handed player who can only go right. Same game, you can only use your left hand. Inside of the dots, inside of the dots. Only left hand finishes. A little tougher, a little bit tougher. Go ahead, next one. Left hand, focus on how their body moves. Which pivot foot do they take? A lot of variables involved in here. Yep, start just inside those dots. Go ahead, left hand only. Yeah, a little bit tougher here. Go ahead, one more. So you see, we're identifying where our players are deficient and we're trying to help them. We got a lot of right-hand drivers here. This also, you see the defense playing a certain way. So this helps our defenders, we can pause for a second, when we talk about personnel, right? Now, let's say, and this is a huge one, I love this word, deception is a huge piece of sports. Huge piece of sports. If you pump fake and he jumps, it's an automatic bucket. Go ahead, you guys are playing, same idea. If you jump on a pump, no, you got both hands, you jump on a pump fake, no, it's a bucket, go ahead. Good. Go ahead again, same thing, couple more reps. Pretty good, one more. So you're seeing they're starting to incorporate more pump fakes potentially. Love it, great. So now we are working on something, we are changing the rules of the game and it changes behavior. You guys follow me? I'll answer all questions at the end. This is a lot of player though, when we do this is oftentimes a coach and this is a player. So this is actually nice because you're working on player offense and player defense. Player development is usually one person. What are the problems with this type of drill? I can create one bad habit. We're working on finishing. Any guesses? Yell it if you have one. Fade away. It's a good answer. Yep, we want to try to get the best shot. Someone said something over here. There it is. Bad footwork, right, which hopefully we coach. The answer over here, you're not passing the ball. This is very, very common, especially in American sports, right, where we're score at all cost mentality. And this is great. These drills are important. We have to get better at finishing. But the more we can add passing outlets, the more we can make this team development, the more carryover you'll get into games. I'm sure this happens a lot in the NBA. There are some one-on-one guys who are freaking good. And they're not that good at 5-on-5 basketball. It's a different sport. We're talking about two different things here. One-on-one is very different than when you have 5 defenders out there doing what Sean is talking about. So, with this, I'm going to throw this over here. I'll bring you guys out here in a bit. We're going to make this more team-oriented. One person at the elbow, one person right here. Biggest player, let's be here. I'll take one ball. We're not going to go through a million reps. One of you guys is off. Let me take 2 actually. One of you want to get out here? We'll get you moving. You look like you're tight over there. So one line here, one line here. Your all-time defense for now, big fella, all right? You got it? It's Corbin, right? Here we go. I'm going to throw a ball to one of these two. This is a great drill to do with your team. You modify it according to your personnel. This simulates he is in transition defense 2-on-1. Maybe it simulates he's in pick and roll defense 2-on-1. I'm going to throw you guys the ball. You got 4 seconds to score. You ready to go? 4, 3, 2. Good stop. Right to it. Next group on. Here we go. 4, 3, 2. Very good. Good defense. You're trying to create a tough shot. 4, 3, 2. Nice job. There we go. There's deception. There are pump fakes. Left hand finishes only. 4, 3, 2. Good. Perfect. Again, last rep. 4, 3, 2, 1. Good defense. You guys get the drill. So we can do this as a team, but what it does is now this player, if you're going one-on-one right now, no one else is in the drill, what are you thinking? Thinking, I gotta find a way to score. Now we're adding a decision to it. It's not score at all costs, it's I gotta find a way to score for our team. That is a huge piece of team development. Another platform we play out of. Let's get 2 guys down there, 2 guys up here. Doesn't matter who, yeah. You can all start, I'm gonna start bringing it out 1 by 1, so you might as well get up and get warm. One player here on offense, one player we call the dunker down by that LDB, that hash mark right there outside the tank. Just 2 guys on for now, so everyone else off for now. Make sure we don't land on you down there. You guys are off as well. Sorry, I'm not doing a good job setting this up. You have the ball. Who's on defense here? You can start on either hip. Either hip, okay? Who's on the big fella? Why don't you be defense? It'll be a little more realistic. You're in the dunker right here, okay? So it's here. What's your name? Kaden? Elijah? It's you two on offense. You guys are playing 2-on-2. We're starting with an advantage. We do a lot of stuff out of advantages. When you move, you can move. A teaching point here, you can figure out what's best for your team. A principle we use oftentimes, actually taught this today, if the ball moves right, we're thinking more move right. If the ball moves left, we're thinking more move left, right? That is a principle of play that we can abide by. Same exact thing we talked about earlier. On you. Good, 1-0. Go ahead, next rep. If you guys want to fill in and get some reps, get warm. So we're going to play some 4-on-4 after. Good pass, good pump fake, there we go. And we're observing, what are they doing? Around the back pass, pump fake. Where's their balance? Where's their center of mass? One more rep. Great bump, keep your balance. Good circle, we're moving. Okay, another platform we can play out of. You can make it a little more interactive. Back up right here for me, Elijah. To the corner, we're gonna need 2 more players right here. We're playing 3-on-3 now. Okay? Good to go. You're guarding here, being right on that lane line. So same idea. We talked about finishing. Elijah, what's your goal? Your steps, you're trying to cut him off as much as you can. We are trying to get to the middle of the court. You got a decision to make, you got a decision to make. Okay, let's do 1 rep here, and then I'm gonna add a constraint. Good bump. Great job, pretty good re-space here, right? We're not just focused on the ball. Same idea, I'm gonna change it a little bit to make it more fair. You didn't do that rep. A big constraint we use is we play on half the court. So after your initial pass, you can only play 3-on-3 on half the court. Okay, so after you make this pass, you got a re-space over here. I'm out of bounds now. After your first pass, we're playing. Yep, same exact thing. Great job. No help comes, we look to score. Again, if you guys want to flow into this, get some reps, let's do it. I'm going to talk through it. Same idea. Way to look to cut. Pretty good, good block. All right, a little bit of a traffic jam there, right? So you're looking at a lot of the off-ball stuff. Something we can put into play here. We're going to play another rep. Here's a constraint. If you stand still inside the 3-point line, it is a turnover. Keep your guys on the off-ball people. So Elijah, if you pass the ball and you stand still, blowing my whistle, it's a turnover. Go. Oh, almost. Stand still, turnover. We see this, right? What's your name, young fella? Jaden, right? So now that's going to influence his behavior if I'm taking his points away for that. These are just constraints we can add. We can add paint touches, we can add a bunch, okay? One of my favorite platforms to work out on is 4-on-4. We're gonna get 2 guys in this corner. And I don't know if you guys want to switch to orange, black, whatever, you guys can keep track in your head, doesn't matter to me. You're off, or you're over here. 4-on-4 is a great way to play. There's a lot more space, it's a lot more fun for players. When you add a 5th player, there's not quite as much space. We're gonna play the same exact game, but I'm going to put constraints on it now. And again, this is for you guys to have ideas, all right? I'm throwing a ton out here on purpose. Take it or leave it. This is what's best for your team. Same exact game. You have to touch the paint before you score. You're starting on defense. So you don't have to start on the side. We're playing. You guys got to get a paint touch before you can score. Got it? So defense, you know they got to touch the paint. Let's play. Gotta touch the paint. 7, 6, there's our paint touch, we're live. Pretty good, right? And during that, we can have the same constraint on. If you stand still after your pass, it's a turnover, right? You guys can play with this. Something that we do a decent amount, and we made a lot of money out of this, and you guys can come to 4 offensive players come up here, is what I'm about to explain. A lot of times you probably struggle with role definition for your team, right? You're like, how do you tell a player, hey, we want you here, whatever. If I told you guys right now, you'll figure it out. One of you has unlimited dribbles, one of you cannot dribble, and 2 of you have a max of 2 dribbles per touch. You follow me? You guys pick. So now what's happening is they're defining their own team roles. They're saying, usually it's, be careful dribbling. That person's probably raising their hand, I don't need to dribble. right? You're probably saying, hey, you got all the dribbles, you got to do that. This helps define your team roles. This is just one example. So, now what's going to happen, go ahead, guys, spread out your plan. I'm sure everyone in the crowd now is trying to figure out who has unlimited, who has 2, who has 0, right? We're doing the same exact thing. Let's play. Good pass, good movement. You guys are better than my high school team did. Perfect, okay? So you guys get the point there, and we can change this out of everything. I'm just gonna throw a few more at you guys so you can see what it looks like. Any pass from the paint, you cannot drive back to where the ball came from. Usually passes come from the paint, and a lot of younger kids love to drive right back to where it came from. So if you catch a pass from the paint, you have to shoot it or swing it. We got it? Let's play. Good. So we're thinking shot or swing on that. Perfect. Let's do the same thing. Elijah, you're going to start with the ball. You can do this. Let's see. You can only come off ball screens. You're the only one who can use pick and rolls. You're the only one who can screen. Go. Got it, perfect. You guys understand the gist of this. I'm throwing a bunch out on purpose. We're not changing this every single rep. What we're doing is we're seeing our deficiencies and we're trying to work on that. If I've noticed Elijah goes right when he goes left, I may tell him, you can only drive left. And that changes how he plays. He's thinking about things differently. Thank you guys. Thank you guys very much. That's all we're doing, player development. So you saw the team principles always outweigh individual. And player development is important, but team development is so much more important. So as a staff, think about how you spend your time. Can you tell a player, hey, make sure you shoot at home for 30 minutes so that you can use that 30 minutes for team practice? But when you guys are putting everything together, you got those 5 Ps, hopefully that sets the table, gives you a framework to work out. Hopefully when you guys leave here, think about 1, 2, tops 3 priorities for your team and go through that process. Say one of your priorities is pick and roll offense. Can you write down 3 principles for pick and roll offense that you can teach your team? And then you use visuals and you use questions and you hit them over and over and over again. Right? And then you use constraints in practice. If the defender goes under, it's a turnover. And then you let them play and they make their mistakes. In progress, and progress, and progress, and everything repeats. Okay? So now we talked about team development, we talked about player development. I'm all ears. Any questions you have, please speak up. Yep. Thank you, Todd.
Okay, cool. All right, so you talk about constraints, right? Rules that we can change in the game. What kind of conditions can you change environmentally on the basketball court to promote